What's gebur, my fellow conspirator and conspirators? It is, of course, I, none other than your boy, Matty Milligan, the beast of Bay Street, and this is episode number 43 of the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo! Today I want to talk to you about the best email software. So, I get asked this question a lot by everybody. They're like, yeah, I'm using ClickFunnels. Should I use their own built-in follow-up funnels and pay the extra $200 per month and just set up all my email list in there and keep my funnels and my customer list in the same place? And I think that's a good option if you have the money. There's many other options. If you have a Shopify store, there's definitely some options as well. It's very easy to actually set it up, honestly, in ClickFunnels. They make it super simple, but with things like Shopify, you need either a developer or you need some third-party app to actually make the integration work, which in some cases can be complicated, but there's a software that makes it a lot easier called Zapier, which does create a lot of the integrations. But I think if you don't have that extra $200 per month and you're just starting out, I think minimum you should be using, if you have Shopify, I think you should be using this tool called Klaviyo, and that's Klaviyo, because it's free. I think it gives you up to 500 contacts per month. But if you're using ClickFunnels, you can't use that program, I don't think. There might be an integration with Zapier. I need to check that. But what I personally would use is ActiveCampaign. It's $15 per month, works very well, has any automation you need to use, allows you to design really stunning templates as well, allows you to send in HTML and plain text for all of your emails, and it integrates with ClickFunnels and WordPress for that fact super easily. So that's the tool that I would use. And honestly, you can use whatever you want. If you're already using something like Aweber, if you're using something like Constant Contact or ConvertKit or Drip or any of the other 150 or so automation email tools and autoresponders that allow you to automatically follow up and send your broadcasts, then use any of them, right? It really doesn't matter. This is one of my main beefs with this whole, like, which autoresponder do I use? Because it really doesn't matter. It's like when people are like, oh, I don't want to use ClickFunnels, it's too expensive. I'm like, cool, then build it in WordPress use a couple of plugins, like get a Thrive Themes theme, and then you get some plugins, and then maybe use like Elementor or OptimizePress to build your funnels, and then integrate your email into there. And that'll cost you a lot less. But I really think that it doesn't matter what you do. Like, just get your idea and get it up and running as fast as possible, right? Speed of implementation. When you have a good idea, that's why I personally like ClickFunnels, because when I have a good idea, I can just quickly build something out and then test it out and get some traffic to it really quickly and see if it is something that people would be interested. And if it not, then again, I go back to the drawing board, right? So it's really good for those moments of inspiration where I can just throw something up really quickly. But it doesn't really necessarily matter, honestly, right? Which email software you're using, because as long as you have, what really is going to make everything work is your copywriting in those emails, right? The strategy behind the copywriting. If you're going to be allowing yourself to warm up to people very quickly and build that rapport with them, right? Build that intimacy and build that bond so they trust you and you have that rapport. That's what's going to make or break your email sequence, not your autoresponder. It really doesn't necessarily matter which autoresponder that you use. Like, this is one of the things. And sure, there's tools that you could use that people say are very complicated, like Infusionsoft. It's honestly not that complicated to set up, to be honest. It's actually, I would say, I think follow-up funnels, or what used to be Actionetics in ClickFunnels, is almost as hard as Infusionsoft, to be honest. I wouldn't say it's as difficult, but it definitely takes a little bit of time to learn and figure out what you're doing. But I think the strategy with your emails and making sure that once your sequence runs out, making sure that you do have those other emails that you're sending to people as well, and really just warming them up to you more and more and more, and familiarizing them with what you do and what you believe in and really what kind of products you're selling, so that they trust and want to buy from your brand. That's what you should be focusing on. Like, it doesn't necessarily matter which one. It's like, oh man, I'm going to lose out if I choose one or the other. It's like, dude, whatever, man. And even if you want to switch providers, that's absolutely fine. You just export your list as a CSV file from one and then import it to another one, right? That takes like 2 minutes. It's something that's really fast for that matter. And one of the biggest reasons I think a lot of people don't use follow-up funnels and ClickFunnels is you need to set up this SMTP with SendGrid, which is really not that complicated, to be honest. There's always steps, but people fall off when they're not held by the hands. And that's one of the reasons why. But I think if you're using ActiveCampaign, like I talked about before, if you just set up your account, set up ClickFunnels, you can make the integration in like 3 minutes. And people pay me all the time to do this as an extra line item in the proposal that I give to them and the invoice that I send to them. And honestly, it's not that complicated. And I can charge a lot for something that's very simple because it's something that they need to do and they're just very uncomfortable doing it themselves, right? And it's not even developer stuff. It's like copying and pasting a couple of things in the right places. And in terms of the deliverability, I think that it does very well based on what I've seen. I've used a bunch of different services and check the different deliverabilities in Gmail, in Outlook, in Yahoo Mail, and honestly, it's about the same throughout all of them. But if you're actually wanting to cold email people, this is where one thing comes into play. If you want to cold email people, sure, you can use your own Gmail account or your own G Suite account or whatever it is, Office 360, to send those cold emails to people. I wouldn't do too many per day. Like I would start with 5 to 10 max per day and then do no more than like 15, 20, maybe 25 per day. That's kind of risking it, but I think keeping it low and sending it, because you don't want to get marked as spam with any of these people and ruining the reputation of your domain. You might even want to buy a separate domain for doing that, or buy multiple ones and then use a tool like Woodpecker, which is a great tool for sending cold emails, and then building out your cold email list from whether you buy that from a broker or use some of the other tools that you can use online to find leads, and take those leads, put them into Woodpecker, and then set up those domains, set up all your emails, and just cold email people, right? And again, same thing, don't be sending too many emails per day. You want to warm it up. One of the tricks I use, because I've been emailing a lot of people to invite them as guests onto this podcast, and I've had like a lot of success doing this just because I use my email a lot for business. So I'll send it to people who I know will reply a lot, right? So I'm showing all of these different email services like Gmail and Yahoo and whatever it could be, wherever it could be hosted, if it's hosted on GoDaddy or on Namecheap or wherever their servers are that are sending and receiving the emails. I'm telling them that people open my emails and reply to them, right? So it's like, oh, it's a friend sending them. So when I send it to other people, it's not going to end up in their spam folder based on the reputation of that specific email address and my domain based on the past, right? So because they're like, oh, well, the other emails he sent to these are usually are from our experience, they're always clean emails where people reply to them. They open them and click on them because it must be a business or a personal email. So sure enough, what happens, it ends in their email inbox and these people reply and they're like, yeah, sure, I'd love to be a guest on your podcast. So that's one of the things that I've done. But again, I warmed it up, right? I didn't just start with cold emails. I kind of built it up by communicating with other people first of all, to kind of building that interaction and gaining that trust and reputation for the domain. So that's what I would do if you're doing cold emails. But for all of your broadcasts and soap opera sequences and daily emails and Q&As and whatever you're sending to your customers, promotional emails, that's something where you should use a different tool. Like I said, ActiveCampaign or Aweber, ConvertKit, whatever. It doesn't matter. Just choose one and integrate it with wherever your cart is, whether that's ClickFunnels, Kartra, or WooCommerce or Shopify, whatever that is. Integrate your email autoresponder so it sends those follow-up emails, right? And I know that Shopify is going to be building this in very shortly. I don't think, based on what I've seen, it's not going to be that great. It's mainly just going to be follow-ups being like, hey, you should also get this other product, which I don't really think is that great. It's not going to allow you to really, again, build that intimacy with your customer base. So again, I really think that just choosing one, writing your emails, setting it up, designing a cool template that you can use in the future for all of your future emails. Doing that, that's on brand with your brand board. Doing that the one time at the beginning is super important. And then you don't have to worry about it ever again. And then maybe you can hire someone else in the future to actually just write your emails, right? And that's what a lot of people do with me. They come to me, they're like, hey, I wanted to start email marketing, I need some help. And they sit down with me and I help them come up with an awesome strategy. And that's really all that I want to say. I don't really think this requires much more than a few minutes of conversation. If you did like today's episode, I would consider subscribing and maybe even consider watching some of the episodes from the past as well, because there's definitely some awesome content. I do have an email, by the way, now where you can email your questions, comments, and maybe you have some suggestions on the show and some recommendations on guests you would like to see. So if you do, you can email undergroundmarketingconspiracy@gmail.com. Maybe I'll eventually get Maddie at undergroundconspiracy.com, but for now it's undergroundmarketingconspiracy@gmail.com. Send me that email and help me warm it up. That's not where I send my cold emails from, by the way. But you can send me an email from there on the topic of sending emails to people, and I'll be more than happy. I try to answer all of the emails personally. If not me, I get one of my virtual assistants to do it on my behalf to save me time and make sure that my listeners are getting the attention that they need and deserve. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I am once again your boy, the Beast of Bay Street, the man himself, the man, the myth, Matty Milligan, and I will see you next time on another episode of the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo!